is part and parcel of human behaviour to not always be readily able to answer a simple or a straightforward question. Someone can invite you somewhere and you might not have your diary on you, and you can potentially just say, oh, I'm sorry, I just need to check my diary. It shouldn't be a problem. I'll let you know. You can forget to check your diary. You can forget to let them know. Things like this happens in life. However, you would take responsibility for your behaviour. And as soon as you do remember, you usually let the other person know. You can also answer a question with a question because you're looking for clarification on the original question asked, so that there's no misunderstandings in the situation. So as people can do this, it makes it easier for narcissistic individuals to get away with avoiding answering some of the most simplest of questions on a regular basis. Narcissistic individuals often answer your questions with questions for various psychological and manipulative reasons. When you ask a narcissist a simple question, you'll often notice, rarely to never, do they just simply say yes or no. It's a case of, we'll see, I'll think about it, what do you need to know that for? It always ends up in a massive debate, and a narcissistic individual can even say, before it ends up in what you perceive to be a debate, they can simply say, do we have to talk about this now? I don't want to argue with you. And then if you push the subject forward, it turns into that massive argument, and they can just turn around as if they're right and say, see, I told you I didn't want to argue with you. I knew this had turned into an argument. Just their arrogance shining through. They validate it in their own mind that it's you that caused the argument, rather than them not answering a straightforward question. Narcissists often avoid answering questions for deflection. They're looking to redirect the conversation to avoid revealing any sort of personal information or information that might help you in some way. Or they look to deflect to avoid responsibility. Now, you can simply just ask a narcissistic individual, what time is it, please? And they turn it round to, why do you need to know? Rather than just looking at their phone, looking at their watch, they just, why do you need to know? You might not have your phone or your watch on you, which is why they've not said check your own phone out. They want to know why you want to know and what you're thinking about doing. If you say that, oh, we've got that event on, can you remember? And they just turn around and go, oh, when did you tell me about that? Again, they just fire back another question so that you're instantly on the defensive. You're the one that's explaining yourself to them, while they often sit there quite smugly at the fact that they're winding you up and frustrating you. Narcissists avoid answering questions for control. They want to maintain control over the conversation. They want to keep the upper hand. So you can ask them, are you ready to go? And they can just turn around and say, ready to go where? Like they've no clue. You can have something planned for weeks in advance and they suddenly just turn it around like they have no clue. Ready to go here? Do you not remember me saying? You never told me that. You'd think I'd have known if you'd have told me that. What makes you think that you told me? And they just spin it straight round onto you. They avoid answering those questions for provocation. They're looking to provoke you to create that confusion, to create that resentment, that frustration, to get that reaction out of you. Again, when you just say, are you coming? Everybody's ready. Ready to go where? And you are literally going round in circles with them, and you can feel yourself going crazy as you're going round in circles with them. They will avoid to answer a question simply to manipulate the conversation and the situation, to manipulate the dialogue, to keep you on the defensive. Narcissistic individuals can just disappear on you. Just up and leave and disappear on you. And then when they come home, you might know from previous experience not to go too far from their reaction. So you might just simply say, "Where did you go last night?" And they take offence to this because they believe you've questioned their sense of entitlement to do as they please. So they just turn around and go, "Ooh, why do you want to know? Who's asking?" So again, you're on the defensive. They draw you into that non-productive argument. They claim they don't want to argue. They accuse you of causing an argument. They fall silent on you. And then they go and find out a new source of supply. They go and impress a stranger. Narcissists avoid answering a question or answer a question with a question for avoidance reasons. They're looking to avoid exposure or avoid revealing any of their vulnerabilities because they know that they exploit your vulnerabilities. So if you just ask them something like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And they can just turn around with a, "Why do you want to know?" Doesn't matter how you respond, they're just going to keep coming at you. Narcissists can answer a question with a question to gaslight your reality, to make you doubt your own perceptions and your own sanity. So when they promise to do something and you turn around and say, "Hey, we're going to go and do this." Do what? That thing that you said you were going to do. I never said I'd do that. How do you think I said that? I think your imagination is running wild, don't you? So then you're the one that's questioning yourself and not their behaviour. And even if you have it as evidence on a message, they're still going to twist it any way they can to avoid taking responsibility. Narcissists only promise things to you to get something from you. And once their needs are met, they're no longer interested in delivering on that promise. Narcissists answer a question with a question for projection. So when they fall silent on you and you just turn around and say, "Is everything okay?" And they just turn around and say, "Stop being so sensitive." And then silence on you again. Narcissists refuse to answer questions or answer questions with a question due to their fear of exposure. Narcissists have that very fragile self-esteem, that very fragile ego, and they fear being exposed as inadequate or flawed in some way. They have that strong desire for control. So in order to control the conversation and the situation, they're going to avoid answering a question, or they're going to answer a question with a question to put them in control over the original questioner, to get you to react to them. They answer questions with the questions to avoid that accountability. They're not going to be held responsible. Narcissists also avoid answering a question to avoid taking responsibility for their behaviour, to avoid being held accountable. They're just going to ask you a question to get you on the defensive so that they can try and hold you accountable for their behaviour. They want to control the situation so that they have that sense of superiority. By not answering your question, or by answering your question with a question, it keeps the narcissist in a perceived position of power and superiority. They want to create that confusion. Narcissists want to seem mysterious or complex so that they're in some ways more intriguing to be around. With a narcissist, it's also a question can be taken as criticism because they believe they're entitled to do as they please. So they often view questions as threats or as criticism, triggering their defense mechanism. So they answer your question with a question to get you on the defensive so that they can be in control of the narrative. And also by avoiding answering a question or answering your question with a question, it's a manipulative strategy for the narcissist to remain in control of the situation and the conversation. When it comes to dealing with these kinds of people, instead of asking them questions, recognize the response you get. Listen to your instincts. Sometimes our head and our heart need to catch up with what our instincts what our instincts are telling us. However, when dealing with a narcissist, you're never going to get the answer you're looking for unless it serves them. They lack the empathy to care about you. So it's less about questioning them and more about questioning, is this person honest? Is this person truthful? Does this person bring the best out in me? Do we bring the best out in each other? Do I feel safe around this person? And if you don't feel safe around the person, it's time to safely move away from the person. If anyone has any thoughts on this video, please do add those into the comments for people reading. Thank you very much to all the returning subscribers and your continued support with the channel. It's greatly appreciated. If you are new to the channel, I'm Elizabeth Shaw. This channel is all about narcissistic behaviour to give you more understanding of the people you might be dealing with within your life, how to handle yourself around those people if you cannot go no contact, and different methods to find what works for you to help you understand and overcome narcissistic and emotional abuse. If you do find the information helpful on the channel, please do subscribe. If you are looking for further help and support in understanding and overcoming narcissistic and emotional abuse, I do have several online guides available, and those teachable links are in the video description. If you're looking for someone to speak to, I have partnered with BetterHelp and their sponsored link is also in the video description. I do also have several books out on Amazon. How to create boundaries around those who have no respect for your boundaries. A Narcissists Handbook, which is the ultimate guide to understanding and overcoming narcissistic and emotional abuse. 15 rules to deal with narcissistic people if you cannot go no contact with them. The new book, which is the hilarious and horrifying narcissistic memes and their meanings. This one strays away from actually learning about the disorder and is more focused on recovery, which is Healing from Narcissistic Abuse, a guided journal for recovery and empowerment. And these are all available on Amazon if you'd like to go and take a look at those. The links will be in the video description. Thank you very much for watching. Go out there and create the day that you deserve, because you do deserve to have an amazing day. Bye.